Hello. I would like to start off by saying that I'm writing this while hiding in a forest. I'm going to write about everything that had happened a couple of days ago. I have no idea how this is happening. I don't know what's going on with all these siren posts, and stay safe everyone. I just need time to write down everything that has happened. My phone will die soon, so when, or if I make it out of here, I will write more soon. I would ask you to call the cops, buds. I'm 100% sure that they would be useless. I don't even know where I am. Where the hell do I even begin? I'll just tell you, guys, what happened the night of June 18th at 2:47 a.m. I was watching a scary movie in bed at the time, in a jump scare. It happened. It scared the hell out of me. But a second later and the TV started glitching and alert went off. I thought that it was an Amber Alert at first, but it wasn't, and the screen was really dark, red, and almost like blood. It had white lettering that said shit like, "Go outside and don't be afraid," and then it would switch to reverse. Get the final piece and, my personal favorite, "Open the doors, let us all come in and we're healing." I swear that I heard something behind the sounds of the warp sirens. The TV went blank. I realized that I was frozen and I couldn't move, no matter how hard I tried. I glanced back of the TV only to see my name and bold letters taking up all of it. Alright, this has to be some kind of prank that my brother did. He connected to his phone to my TV via Bluetooth. It has to be that. Chris, this isn't funny. Stop messing with me while I'm trying to watch a movie. I yelled no answer. I tried to swim around and leave my bed, but I wouldn't budge and I was like I was being controlled. I started to panic, buds. Then I heard my name. The TV said my freaking name. It sounded like my brother or my mom or dad. It sounded like nothing that I never heard before. If an animal could speak and where with a high pitch screamed at the same time, it would be that I had enough. I quietly said, "Who are you?" The TV reply again, "My name is." Do you need to know? How did you know me? Didn't know me. I stopped asking myself, when have you learned? Buzzing got louder and louder until the sound of a dog whistle, buds. I was being affected by it. I wanted to cover my ears, but I couldn't. Just when I thought my ears are going to explode from the unbearable pitch, the unknown force paralyzing me was finally released. I quickly turned off the TV and I went back to go look out of my window. I just had this urge to look like a trance. It was pitch black. I couldn't see anything, like a starless space on the street. Lights are usually on at this time. I thought to myself for a while, looking for any source of light. There is none. I couldn't even see the moon. I jumped back with. Sirens came screaming through the. I couldn't see any police cars or ambulances nearby. I didn't see any light. It sounded like it was coming from everywhere outside my house, me. It was in my mind and it didn't sound normally either. You know those videos on YouTube that make the audio all creepy and deep and glitchy and distorted and all that? That is what it sounded like. A much more surreal, though, that hot in summer will probably never leave my brain for as long as I live. I heard screeching in the distance. That didn't sound human either. I liked the alert on the TV. It was just loud as the sirens, but I only heard it for 2 seconds. It reminded me of those Skinwalker stories, all the screeching stuff. Maybe it was the tornado warning practice, vanilla, theirs only happen on Wednesdays, I think. As the sirens went off, the lamp lights were back on again, in the sky was cleared, the moon shine again and I could see the stars. It was no longer pitch black. Nicole of darkness was finally gone and the dead silence was eerie. No crickets are crunching of branches and my street is right in the middle of the forest. I was like everything was dead. As the darkness cleared, I realized that every house's door was opened. My eyes back. It's my favorite of my front door flinching one. I saw that it was open and I raced on the stairs and turning all the lights on and I slammed a shot. I lied to them. I made sure that every single window and door were too. But how did it get open? I was going back upstairs one. I saw my dad on the floor with his arms and legs straight on the floor like he was making a snow angel dad, and I ran over to him and I pulled it, his arm. What? How did I try to get him off of the floor? Did you open the door, Dad? I don't even remember getting on the floor. What is that noise? It's going around the neighbor, but everybody's door is open too. Look. I stopped in my tracks, all pointing to the window near the front door, as everybody was staring blankly at my house, me, if anything, just standing there. My body went cold and the hairs on my neck stopped. What's wrong? My dad did the same. What the hell? My dad left to get my mom and brother. I've never seen anything like this before, only in the movies. On the comedic side. It sort of looked like a low budget Us thinking about it, and my dad called the cops and there was no answer. I tried every phone in my house and no answer. After a while the sirens stopped, but I could still find me hear the same distorted, deep sound ringing in my ears. Damn it! I yelled at. I felt so helpless and frustrated. I just wanted to go to bed and my family covered up all the windows and we all slept on the couch together. My dad have any shocking by his side. The next morning everyone was gone. I looked around in a hurry only to see them in the kitchen having breakfast. Everything was okay. The only response was from my mom, who replied with, "Do you want pancakes, sweetie, or maybe some eggs? You need some protein or whatever. It's summer, you can have both. You look so out of it and sit down. She said in a cheerful, yet empty, and blank and emotionless tone and didn't even sound like her. Her hair was all done up nicely, she had make a bottle with red cherry lipstick and she was in a pink dress. My mom hates bank. I stood there in shock, thinking my mother has never spoken to me like that before. She usually just greets me for a second and then puts down a bowl of cereal. It didn't take me long to realize that my entire family was dressed like a preppy rich family. I had a country club or some stuff. Even my brother, her a boy of no respect for suits and ties, Nancy clothing in general, was dressed in a light plaid button-up shirt. She would never wear this. I turned to my dad, also want a polo shirt. A polo shirt, and I shake my ass, is everything all right? I have no idea what you mean. He stated in a tone, I'm fine, your mother's fine, her brother's fine, hopefully. And I looked down and I was astonished at the fact that I switched from a hoodie and sweatpants to a pastel blue corduroy skirt and it tucked in white loose off the shoulder blouse. I knew for a fact that I didn't own any of these clothes. I figured that they were my mom's. A million more thoughts rushed through my head. There was no explaining this. I swear that I was in my comfy clothes just a second ago. How can I brush this off? I wanted to ask more questions, but I was too afraid and not wanting to anger my so-called dad again. But then again, it was the best breakfast that I ever had. That was the only part of the day that I really did enjoy. I almost took a bite out of my pancakes when I looked down at a run-hard and piece of change, the commute covered with maggots. I dropped my silverware and I staggered out and I see it covering my mouth to keep me from vomiting from the stench. I looked around and everything was great. All the color was gone. No more fancy table dinners with lace cloth. All the food was rotten. I gagged and I almost ran into the bathroom with my mom randomly appear in front of me and grabbed my arm tightly. "Where are you going, honey bunch? And don't you want to finish your breakfast?" She, Grandin, looked back at the table and so did I see my dad and brother staring at me blankly. Her grip tightened, almost cutting off the circulation of my arm, is still grinning at me while her eyes widening. "Oh, I'm so full, Mom. I just want to go lay down. Is that okay with you?" I said, trying to act all preppy, even though I was trembling like I had Parkinson's. "Please." My mom, with her head tilted and a girl that was almost touching your cheeks. They're back at me and twitching her right eye for about 5 seconds before releasing me. "Sure, my little peach pie, anything for you, my dear." She pooped my nose with her finger in my back to the table. I blinked again and the color was black. The food is fine and the porcelain plates, the fancy lace tablecloth, the light yellow roses in the face, everything I want to my room. Not being able to recognize a thing, my home looked like a mansion. But this was in my home and those people downstairs were not my family. I finally stumbled to my room and, getting lost in the maze of falls. I looked out of my window. It was unusually bright outside and the clouds looked fake. I almost too perfect, and then it's moving either. The grass wasn't unreal shade of green with the other one white flowers sprouted all around the streets. All of our houses were the same too, the same design and shape and but different pastel colors. I cried for about 20 minutes when I grabbed my phone and I texted my next door neighbor and yeah, I didn't know about maybe the same things were happening to her. I copied her texting here. "What's the conversation? Any? Hey, it's Harper, and do you remember what happened last night? You can come to my house. Something really strange is going on. I'm scared me to anybody. I can't leave. My parents and brother are." I saw Annie staring at me, waving and smiling out of my window. Sometimes we do see each other through our windows, but she doesn't say hi, Harper, anyway. "Why are you smiling at me like that? What the hell do you mean?" "Through your window, Annie, I can see you." There is no answer for about 5 minutes. "I'm not doing that and that's not me and nobody's on my window, but I can see you waving and smiling at me." "What the hell? What's happening? Why is everything the same?" I don't know any thinking about it now, and it couldn't have been Annie didn't even have a phone in her hand. "Do you think that we're not in the same place? What, like each of us, every single person in the neighborhood is in their own little messed up world?" "Harper, I tried leaving. I said that I was going for a bike ride. I biked to the exit of the neighborhood and there were these days. I asked the nearest house for the code and they didn't answer. They just smiled at me and slammed the door in my face. Something tells me that I shouldn't try to escape. I feel like people are watching me. What we don't have, Gates, so you're saying that I'm alone and no one here is that, I guess. I just don't want to believe it either. What is there to believe? I got to go. My sister just called me down to play croquet. She doesn't even know how to do that and I don't either. We don't even have a croquet set. Just act like that, man. I think you'll be fine, and that was the end of our conversation. She didn't answer and hopefully she's okay, but then I heard my brother coming up the stairs. As I heard my brother's light footsteps getting closer and closer into my room, all I could think of was, will he harm me? And I didn't want to believe it. But I have to keep telling myself that it's not my brother. Remember what Annie said. I was caught off guard by my thoughts when I realized that my brother was standing at the entrance of my room, shadows behind him even when the lights are turned on. May I come in, dear sister? He asked in the same emotionless, robotic tone. Yeah, sure, Chris. I would have said it more nicely and did a proper fancy way, like the rest of my imposter doppelganger family, but I'm not used to being treated this nicely by my brother. He's only 8 and I do love him, although he is a complete I couldn't. Would you like to play a board game, Chris? Charlie said. I was too afraid to say no, thinking of how my mother's. Oh okay, I got up slowly and I got Monopoly, which was in his room and used to be Chris's favorite game, and now it's Fortnite, which I despise with all my heart and soul. I looked at the box and a tear fell out of it. Where the hell am I? I asked myself. Oh Harper, what are you waiting for? Come on over here, silly. I went back to my room and then we played it. He didn't even look at the game we played, he just got to me. It was getting dark out and then I made a really big mistake. I won. He then slowly, no, 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 his head violently shaking as his voice got deeper and deeper, almost growling. He started to charge me. I got up and I tried to run, but my dad stopped me in my tracks. He looked at me and then what did Chris? It was an inch away from me and Dad stared at him with bloodshot eyes and quickly put his hand over his head. Christoph, chanting at me, can you squeeze past me? And he picked up frozen Chris by the head and carried them off to his bedroom. I still there with my mouth open for about 2 minutes, comprehending what had just happened, out of frustration, and I kicked the game board and threw all the fake money away. How he's yelling. When I heard my mother's voice, how regular, sweet and tender voice she was calling for me. She was yelling. I could only hear it play, Lola, Harper, Harper. It was like music to my ears. I cried and I laughed. Mom, no answer. Mom, still no answer. Mom, please answer me. Nothing on my Musical.ly, in my own tears. And then I heard a knock on the door. What troubles you, my dear mom? Number 2 said. I didn't answer, though I flinched. I felt her cold hand, touched my shoulder. She whispered into my ear, I made some warm cookies for you, a warm milk as well. It was oddly comforting. That all went away, though when I turned around and I saw that I wanted to smack set alarm for phase. It was so lifeless. I would like some, oh good. She wiped the tears off my face and went to grab the platter of cookies off my dresser. It smelled delicious, but I remembered what happened with the pancakes before, and she had me the platter in the warm milk, that in my back, and gave me a kiss on the cheek. Call me if you need me. Porcelain toilet, and I flushed it down. After I had flushed it and black goo started gurgling and bubbling out of the toilets. I yelled, there is so much shit, I really need to get out of here. I stayed up late and I couldn't sleep at the fireplace like the exorcist, and they got up and charged me like Krista only. I ran out of the door and I grabbed Dad, shocking on the way out. They just watched me run away with the door wide open. What does stupid Grinch on their face? I sprinted until I was at the exit. I tried to climb over them, avoiding the sharp edges. I was almost free when invisible barrier it stopped me. It burned my right leg really badly and I screamed in pain as I thought of the ground and that blaring siren went off again. I must have triggered it somehow. I checked the time, 2:47 a.m. Just like last time. I eventually got myself up only to find everybody in the neighborhood and were leaving their houses and they were walking towards me. I tried to run but my brothers were walking with some strange device. I shoved some people and shot something that were more aggressive. It was hard but it helped, knowing that these were not my neighbors, and I eventually made it to the forest. Everybody was chasing my name in angry voice and getting more and more intense into the point where they were screaming at. The voices were getting louder and so I ran faster. I was aware that I was running over bodies with their stomachs open, perfectly, their eyes rolled back, but it didn't have any veins. They were on the same perfect position. I'm straight by their sides and legs straight and pointed. There wasn't blood, just a white milky substance and circular gray pods gushing out of their sliced bodies, sort of like bursting boba or the stuff they put in that boba tea. Whatever it was, it scared the hell out of me. It was like a graveyard for the imperfect. While getting out of there, trying to step over the mass of deceased bodies, but failing miserably, I slipped and I fell down a hill and landed in a creek. I went to get up. At the same just started voice from the allergic told me to stay in. I did, and before I knew it too, something was pulling me under the water, a strong, fast force that I can invite, no matter how hard I tried. I was being pulled down a hole in the creek, started to lose consciousness as I went deeper and deeper into this hole, and then everything went black. I woke up in the same spot on the couch when I fell asleep with my family when the sirens had started. I was back in my sweatpants and purple dinosaur hoodie, but I was dirty, the surprisingly now wet though. I got up and I looked around frantically, no one. I searched everywhere for the doppelgangers holding up my gun while turning every corner. I think I'm back home. I left my house and I looked for Annie at her house, but no one. She was right, everybody is in their world. I thought I hope was lost, but I remember that I could text the creek. It's the way out of here. I went back down to the creek. There were more holes, multiple, with names. Everybody in the neighborhood had a hole. What do? I tried texting but there is no service and no one is answering my calls and the police would not be able to handle this. But wait, I just got a text from another contact named Annie, asking where I was. It's not the same person that I chatted with earlier. That's it, I'm going down the halls. I'm getting my family in this whole neighborhood back, or what's left of it. I grabbed my dad. Shock. And then I brought with me while escaping my face, and I got in the water. I stepped into a sinkhole and soon again I was in the other world. How am I now wet? And I thought to myself. I walked out of the forest, the bodies with orbs overflowing out of their mouth, and I finally got to the neighborhood. The same, extremely green grass with a perfectly symmetrical flower pattern. God, I hated this place, but I needed to find my brother, eyeglass in my face, calm, and I cocked the gun. As I was walking towards my house, Mrs. Bentley, number 2, was outside watering her plants, frozen and over position. The real Mrs. Bentley was very old and she was in a wheelchair. It looks like her doppelganger had gotten an upgrade. I almost made it to my house when Annie number 2 suddenly appeared in front of me. How are you doing today, Harper? Smiling with a nauseating joker, granite, hey, Annie, wonderful, as always. How do you do? I'm going to my mind after saying that. Well, I'm just fantastic. And this is that. I'm back in my hoodie, with dirt all over me, and her smile turned into an expression. The stares, and she started crying again with no emotion. She started to walk closer. I backed up and she started screaming, charging at me. I pulled the trigger and I kicked her lifeless body. It was cruel, but I needed to know that she was dead. Her body cans for 1 second and then her mouth started. Two men in white and blue suits came out of nowhere and walked next to each other at the same pace towards any number 2, and they paid her up and they watched her into the forest and not paying any attention to me. Neither did anybody outside, and maybe if I didn't acknowledge them or talk to them and they wouldn't freak out. I tested it out, randomly, shooting from a distance, not talking to her. No one gave me attention and they didn't even flinch. Another pair of men in suits took her into the forest and worked. I realized how dark my thought was, but it was for the best. I finally got to my house and I slowly pushed the door open and I sneaked in. My family, including Harper, number 2 and my real brother, were frozen at the breakfast table. They were just sitting there not eating anything. My download happy, but I knew that it was him. He just looked at the food and he didn't want to eat it. But it wasn't food at the table. It looked like flash covered in those gray, bursting boba or thingies. I held up my gun. I figured shaking at the trigger. I felt bad, but they're not my family, and I thought was the only thing that was keeping me saying, "Hey," I tried to whisper, "Buds. I needed my brother. Can you hear me? Hey." This time you looked over and he saw me. My eyes lit up at the sight of him, but he looked at me and he just nodded his head. No, I think that he was signaling for me to leave and come back later, but I'm not taking that chance. I waited outside of the house for a while until they were done with their breakfast period. Phone number 2 and dad number 2, and I found my way to Chris's room. I saw him playing with the Rubik's Cube on his bed. "Chris," I ran up, and "I don't know, Harper, what are you doing here? If you should have asked me, I want to stay, it's so nice." What I said baffled it, extremely confused by what you just said. "Harper, it's dangerous here and you should go, and you, I want to stay." I walked up to him and I sat down in front of him and grabbing his shoulders, "Chris, what about mom and dad? And they miss you a lot and I know they would want you to come back. And, plus, I didn't come all this way today to get attitude just because little whiny Chris wanted to stay. Go away," he screamed, pushing me. "Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not leaving without you though." Mom, Chris, that's not your mom." "Yes, it is God, he's brainwashed." I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. I hit Chris with my gun, accidentally, while turning around and knocking him out, and I know, but hey, at least he's coming with me for sure. Now, as soon enough, mom number 2 was standing at the doorway, smiling, holding a freaking ass. She ran on me, swinging at she, and while she was trying to get it out and I shot her and I grabbed Chris and I ran. I made it to the world. Then I found Mrs. Bentley, number 2, and Annie to add it to the pile of people with his stomach cut open. Point out the great orbs. I got to the creek and I went back down Chris's hole. Then I got back to our real house, laid him down on the couch and tied him up in case he tried to escape or make things worse, go back into the forest, and I jumped into my mom's hole. I regained consciousness in the forest and I did the same thing, go past the houses and Mrs. Bentley, number 2, everything I wanted up at the house. Then I burst in and not scared to shoot, at least that's what I thought I was going to do. I walked in on my mom crying, clutching a knife in her hand, with the double gang or family tied up, not making a sound, are there on the floor and not even struggling it. "Mom," she turned around quickly, dropping the knife. "Baby, oh my God." She ran over and hugged me tight but then stopped and had a confused look. "Wait, and that's not you know." "I don't know what they are, but I have Chris back home." I knew that it wasn't you, she said, and I knew it. I told you guys up because I didn't really know why. I just the neighborhood, it's so different. How did you get here and where are we? What do you mean? Chris is back of the house. It's okay, Mom, I've been there. I'll explain everything that's happened when we get back. I grabbed your hand and we ran out to the forest. We stopped when we came across. Some of the neighbors circled around the dead bodies near the creek, holding, "No, we need to get to the holes to get back home." The holes, trust me, let's go, look like a ritual. And got to the creek and my mom stared at the sinkholes. I was about to go, but I took one last look at the circle. Court says they were gone. I jumped in and waking up with my mom tucking in my shoulder saying wake up. I took her back to the house to me, Chris. I let her have her moment of happiness before telling her the dad and the rest of the neighborhood was still in those holes. I told her that I was going. She didn't want me to at first, but I explained to her everything that had happened. She should stay with Chris anyways. He looked terrified before he saw us and he had his head and his knees and was sitting in the corner. I think he knew that everybody was gone. The neighborhood was dead, empty, lifeless. I hugged my mom and I went back into the forest. At this point I know what to do, but I had to be cautious. At the same time, I stared at my dad's hole and I jumped in. I woke up, got up and I started walking. Something was wrong. It smelled like something was burning and I saw the dim orange light covered by smoke. All the houses were on fire, Dad. I thought I ran closer to the glowing lights covering my mouth and coffee and try not to inhale smoke. I searched endlessly through the streets behind the sound of the crackling, burning houses, and I could hear the siren. I never hit a sign more than this one. I want to watch. Until I saw somebody in the middle of the street and they were sitting. At first I thought it was a doppelganger, but then I realized it was my dad and talking to himself repeatedly saying, "I killed them all. I killed them all. Get a box of matches." In his hands. He had started the fires. I ran out to him and I grabbed his shoulder. He flinched and he pulled out a bloody cleaver, putting it down and realizing that it was the real me. "Is that you, Harper?" "Yeah, come on. What the hell are you doing? I thought you were dead. I killed all of you. That isn't me. Everybody here is a mama. Come with me. We need to get back." I told him to the smoke, struggling. I felt like I was going to pass out, but we needed to get out of here. I was not going to die here, and neither was my dad. The adrenaline of the moment how to carry us to the forest. We both fell to the ground and coughing until it felt like our lungs exploded. My dad crawled over to me and hugged me. I was really satisfied to have my family back, but I couldn't help thinking about anything. R. Jameson, my boyfriend. He lives in another neighborhood. But what if this is happening to everybody? It just can't be us. And if so, why just us? We had a fight before the sirens began, so I didn't text him just because I was mad at him. God, I can be mean at times and I deeply regret it. My heart sunk the thought that he might be dead. Me and my dad got up and I tell him to get in this hole. He laughed, something I didn't hear in a long time, and I told him that it was the only way out. He refused, so I pushed him in. I chuckled him. I went to the bathroom. I woke up again to Dad carrying me by my shoulders to the forest. I weakly told that to Mom and Chris are at the house and to trust me and just go. It always been stubborn, but this time you listen to. He probably listening, because I just want to do at least have hope that they were alive. We arrived at the house and her mom anxiously waiting on the couch. I looked down and I was completely blackened by the smoke, and same with my dad, and my mom greeted us and led us down and got us a drink of water. I was extremely weak and tired, and my dad had a huge bloody gash on his back and looked like he had gotten hit with an axe, and I don't know why. I just did what I had to do. It wasn't too long before I got up, wanted to go to find Annie's hole. My dad grabbed me before I could grab a shotgun. "Honey, please don't go. Dad." And my mom put her hands on my dad's shoulder, hopefully to let me go to Annie's hole. "Harper, you've been through enough. Call the police and figure it out." "There's nothing to figure out, Dad. I can't figure this out, and neither can you, and no one can. There's no explaining this. And the cops, are you kidding me? And the cops already didn't even believe us. They wouldn't know what the hell to do. Think of their faces when we say, the entire neighborhood are trapped inside these sinkholes in the Forest Creek doppelgangers. What will they say that?" He sat through silent, took a deep breath and got up and went to his office, came back with a box of shotgun shells and handed them to me. "If you're not back in a couple of hours, I'm coming to get you, all right? Fine, but remember, if you enter any single, you have to leave out of any single. If you don't, I think you might get back to your own world. You don't want to go back to yours. Got it now? Go before I change my mind," he said reluctantly. My mom and dad hugged me and Chris waved goodbye, Eliza, happier compared to how he was before. I walked through the forest and I stared at Danny's home. I jumped into the portal, my consciousness slowly fading. I woke up, smelling the stench of corpses. Getting myself off the ground. I heard screams. I started my way over to Annie's house. I opened the door and Harper number 2 questioned to me. While it seemed like she was trying to kill Annie, I thought of the ground and I'm at eyes with me. It was really strange seeing myself and the other way than a camera, a mirror. "Harper," I tried to respond, but Harper number 2. Now I had her hands around my throat, squeezing tighter and tighter, with that big fat grin on her face, or my face. I guess I tried reaching for my shotgun, but it was out of reach. We rolled around for what seemed like an eternity and I got on top of her and I started punching her like crazy until my knuckles felt sore. She didn't stop and she was insanely strong, eventually escaped my grasp and pushed me to the ground, strangling me again anytime. It wasn't long before I realized that she was fighting off. Her mom had a cleaver. "We're so screwed," I thought to myself to feed at it, but then Harper number 2 leg slipped no longer, painting my full body down, and I got a hold of my legs back. I kicked her in the chest and I grabbed my shotgun before I could shoot her. She shot me with that weird device thing that people were carrying around. When I tried to escape through the gates, I fell to the floor and he's still fighting off her mom. Everything swirled and spun around me until I closed my eyes. When I opened them, I was floating in what's like space, but dark gray was swirly, clouds of white and looked like an angel. I needed to get out of here. I swam through the dark mass and not find it any way out. I was losing hope and then I saw me. Well, Harper too. I stared at her for a second and then I went over to her. "What do you want, something?" She didn't answer her, she just snapped her head back at me, but this time she wasn't smiling, she had a look of intense fear. She looked at me and said, declined her cheek. She clawed more and more until she was ripping her skin off. She peeled off a thick layer of flesh, revealing a gray oil, yet smooth surface she can't peeling into. A large gray head covered with slime appeared. It opened its yellow glowing eyes and it was the exact same. I turned around and I swam as fast as I could. The thing started following me now when its full form, covered in ooze, long, huge spider legs with claws and a see-through body, throttled those tiny gray orbs and tried impaling me with its legs a couple of times, so making this weird clicking noise. It sounded like bone cracking. I came across another hole. I didn't know if it would do anything, but I jumped inside of it anyways. I just wanted to get away from that thing. I came back into Annie's world once again. I woke up in the same position with Annie still fighting her mom. I looked over and Harper number 2 was gone. I grabbed the shotgun quickly and I blasted Annie's mom number 2, and he looked at her mom and then looked at me. Annie, how long was I gone? Like 1 second after the second version of you shot you. How did you get here? And he said, breathless. It felt like I was gone for hours. I told Annie everything that had happened, including the holes. She didn't seem that shocked I wouldn't have either after all this, and we went back to the forest and went through the hole, and when we got back to you said you wanted to go with me to find her parents. And how agitated. But I agreed and so we did. Hours went by and we got her parents back and your dog. And for those who are asking about my hamster, yes, Hamburger is alive and well. I'm not going to go into details because we basically did the same thing over and over again, and he was reunited with her parents and her dog. She tried to explain it to them what had happened. They asked Annie's family in mine ridiculous questions and they looked pretty baffled too, but we told them all the same story. It has been 5 days since this all happened, so they could just file a missing persons case, and almost every person in the damn neighborhood. I didn't tell them about the holes, though I told everybody not to, since they might quarantine it or something. I'm not really sure what the cops did. Can you search the houses? And then left. I was tired of getting people out of the doppelganger worlds, but I had to. I got one person out of a family and told him to go get their family and the rules exit through the portal. You went, and while getting somebody out you should dress fancy if you can and act like that, bring guns and everything else, and that sort of worked for everybody. Some people were too afraid to go in. Some came back with a dead body, so their family, some came out without their family saying that they couldn't find them. But it was all happening very slowly. If more people are in there for any longer and they'll die. I couldn't stop thinking about the weird place I was in with that thing. I think that he is the cause of this. I have to find it and kill it. I went through Mrs. Bentley's hole with a backpack filled with weapons and I thought about how to make the doppelgangers out. Why didn't they just shoot everybody with it when they had the chance? What makes them take it out anyways? The only time I ever saw them do it was when I was trying to escape through the gates and the sirens went off, and when I was fighting myself. Maybe, if they discovered something that's imperfect like me, escape into the gate, and you're probably not supposed to do that or have two of the same people in one world. So I went to my house and I found myself as soon as she had pulled out the strange looking gun and shot me. I waited and waited until I was in the space-like void. I searched and I searched for the beast. I was going to give up hope when I heard that blood curly and screech. I could see it floating, yet charging at me at the same time. I'm absolutely terrified, but I had to kill this thing. I shot it with my gun, useless, and the bullets to fight at shit. I thought, how am I going to do this? While I was getting out of knife from the backpack and the creature sliced my arm pretty bad with its sharp legs, and I tried cutting its legs off to no yours and kicked me around like a soccer ball when I tried to get close to it. It was hard, but I got on top of it and I tried to accident and it broke. The accident in the back of my... I may not be able to kill this thing. And then it spoke, you cannot kill me in reverse. Gather the pieces, it said in the same strange lyrics voice from the alert to my TV. It felt like it was talking to my mind. While I was floating, holding my leg, I saw its stomach, filled with pods, is made of a different material than the steel, like legs, almost like a thin layer of jello. I also had a box of matches and I swam under the thing. I'm grabbing onto its stomach and around and try to reach me with its legs, but it failed. I got the matches out. Struggling to hold onto its oily, smooth skin covered inside, I cut open its stomach and threw the match inside, the little gray orbs. This time I'd like to feed. I let go of its stomach and I swear I'm past it. See you now floating in the air covered in flames. The thing struggled to shake off the flames. No, not, you must finish. I must be the beautiful and the dead. After it said that, it started speaking gibberish like Christmas until he couldn't speak anymore and then I left, I assumed, found a hole and I got back to Mrs. Bentley's world. When I got there, everything was on fire, all the doppelgangers on the floor and flames. It made me happy to see them. I'll burn. What a dark side. But whatever, I got Mrs. Bentley out of the world and I got back to the real one. When I woke up I saw people who had made it back from. Yet everyone is back. They were unconscious, outside of their holes somewhere awake already, confused, and in a daze I got them back to their houses and of course, a bunch of people did soon call the police and they thought that we were bullshitting all this, but they were confused as well. I wonder why other people didn't go looking for some people in our neighborhood. But everybody is pretty spooked about this whole thing. I'm just glad that it's almost. Everybody is back, though. Somebody called an ambulance for the injured and the deceased. I texted my boyfriend, since I had signal again, but there is no answer. He must still be mad at me. I drove to his neighborhood in the streets for all the empty. Only a couple of the cars were there, which is odd, and we usually have a lot of traffic. Opened the store, no answer. I started to panic, so I went in and no one is there. I ran to the houses and I searched everywhere. My God, there's no one here.